Hi, I'm Joseph Phillips, the Director of Education at Instructing.com, where I teach project management. I want to talk to you today about one of the most exciting days in any project, and that's the day the project is closed. There's nothing better than getting to that end point and having that fruition of your project that we're done and it's now moving into operations or into production. So let's talk about completing the final task to get us to project closure. We have to have this mindset that 99% is not 100%. Oftentimes at the end of a project, we're pretty much done. I got these last few things to clean up and I'll get to it eventually. Let's get it done. Let's get to 100% and put this thing to rest, and then we can move on to new opportunities. So the project manager really has to lead to conclusion. Now what we're seeing in this chart here, if we look at the lower left, we have the early project stages. Public awareness in the early project stages is probably pretty limited when it's just you and the sponsor and your team and maybe the product owner or business analyst role. It's pretty limited. But over time, that public awareness, whether that's internally or with your customers, that's going to grow. The project manager's commitment over time also increases because we are getting deeper and deeper into the project. And then as we move to the right, we're getting up to those final project tasks. So we need to be committed through the whole thing, have an increase in commitment to get it entirely done. You know that projects are temporary. They don't go on forever and ever. So we need to be strong in our commitment to get these last activities done, to archive the information and close out the project officially. So let's talk about some guidelines for avoiding a stressful project closure. Set the example. We don't want to have this frenzy and this fury and we're flying around all these different ways to rush to get things done. How you behave is often how your team members will behave. That yes, it's good to have a sense of urgency throughout the project, but it's probably better to have a controlled, methodical cadence to how you're going to move forward through the project all the way to closure. And as you know, we want to be organized, so organize our thoughts, organize our files and documentation, organize our communication, and then act. Communication is so important throughout the project, but you could argue it's most important at the end of the project for how we're going to do operational transfer or cut over from that old environment to the new environment. It's a good idea to visualize our progress. So in your work authorization system, you might have a chart that shows how close you're getting to the end, or a burn up chart that shows the accumulation of things you've created, or a burn down chart that shows the number of features left to go in the project, that we're almost there. Let's finish this up on a good note. Quality is important throughout the whole project. That quality is a conformance to requirements, that we're creating something that's fit for use. So we want to have that final push to get it done and make certain that conforms to our requirements. And so these are all important things when it comes to getting to closure, to getting these final activities done. Now, as we're getting close to the end of the project, you may need to go back to your project management software and look at our critical path. The critical path shows the flow of activities that cannot be delayed or the project is going to be late. Often what we have in a project is the synchronization of many activities that come together that have to be finished at the same or nearly the same time. So we want to make certain those final activities have the resources and the bandwidth of our team to get those done, to hit our deadline, to hit our target date to completion. You may also want to go back and look at your management reserve. Management reserve is different than the contingency reserve. Management reserve is a set of funds that are specific for unknowns in the project, things that could happen because of rework or corrective action. So look at your management reserve and see what monies or time are allotted in management reserve. I say time because often management reserve can be a pool of money, but it's also can be a pool of time, a little window of your target end date. So look at that management reserve, look at your critical path, and I want to say, am I likely to fall in this window and still be successful and hit our target end date? You may need to look at any final risks. So you look at your risk log, work with your team. Are there any risks that are threatening the end of the project and preventing us from getting to closure? So we may have to do some risk planning. So risk identification happens through the whole project, including towards the end of the project. Now, if it looks like we're not going to hit our end date, then I want to step back and say, well, what can I do? What actions can I take to get us to that end date? So can I crash the project? Is there any labor that I can add to these final tasks to get that work done faster? Now that's assuming that labor is effort driven, where I can add more effort to complete those activities faster. So added labor is something to consider. Now, hopefully, which I know it will be for you, you actually complete the project, that the project, all the work is done, and we have moved that into operations, and so we're ready to officially close out the project. Well, one activity we should do is called the Project Postmortem. Basically, it's a lessons learned activity where we look at the quality of the project, not just the things we created, but what got us there, the processes, what were the quality of the project processes, and how do we improve upon that? We do scope verification, and we ensure that what we have created was of quality and the customers accepted it and they were happy. And then often we do this with a customer, and our team is we'll walk through, we do a demonstration or a walkthrough of what we've created. Now, while the project postmortem is typically associated with the end of the project, this is also something we could do at the end of each phase or at every milestone to ensure that what preceded this milestone is of quality and that our project is operating well and that we have a cohesiveness among our team for that project vision that we should all be working towards. In an agile environment, this is baked into the agile approach. So we have a sprint demo or a demonstration or a sprint review of what we have created, and it is of quality, and are we on target for what the customers want? And then we have a sprint retrospective. And a retrospective is an opportunity to look at what worked well, what didn't work well, what do we need less of or more of, what is the health of the project, how happy are people in the project, and how can we improve upon our approach. So these are all the concepts that you can do in any project. At the end of a project, you may also be tasked with looking at the project's worth. The project's worth, we're talking about return on investment, that management horizon that gets us to recouping our costs, and then we move into a return on investment. Management horizon is also called that break-even point, where the thing that I create or my team creates is going to cost some amount of money. As that moves into operations and production, at what point will that begin to recoup the cost that it took to create this thing or to create this product or service? So we have to do some forecasting. Now, one of the things we have to consider with that is the learning curve. So if we take a look at this chart, we have the product's impact on productivity, for example, in relation to the constant factors of work. Basically, what this is telling us, if we move to a new solution, it's going to take time to realize a new level of efficiency. So for example, you're going to move from one app to another. The current app, you had this given level of efficiency. When I have to learn as a user in your organization, your new solution, my efficiency is going to go down. That's the learning curve. It's actually a dip in efficiency and productivity because I don't know this new system yet. I have to learn it. But over time, I'm going to become more and more efficient and ideally surpass the old level of efficiency and productivity. Now notice I've been saying efficiency and productivity. They're not the same thing. Efficiency is the rate at which I can complete the work. It's how efficient, how quickly can I get that work done. Productivity is how much I produce. So just because I have the capability to be more productive doesn't mean I necessarily will. So there's a whole study we can do on regression analysis in the learning curve for how long does it take to become more productive as opposed to how productive we were on a prior solution or a prior piece of software. Finally, we have the sign-off. We want to have some type of a sign-off that this project is done and have a review of the success or failure of the project. Now, this can be formal or informal. I'm a fan of formal sign-off where the sponsor says, yes, it's done and it's good, and there's actually something they sign off on. This might be done just with your statement of work confirmation, a review of the scope and what you have promised to do in relation to what was actually created. So we want a final sign off. After the project, you may have an audit. So a post-project audit is not just financial, but an examination of was the vision achieved? Was the purpose of the project achieved? Was this project on track from start to finish? And if not, where were the issues so we can improve upon that in the next project? What was the business value that this project created or helped the organization realize? And then what knowledge can you share with others? So what type of a knowledge management system do you have? Finally, we have the final report that you may need to create for your project. This is a good idea to do in any project as the project manager. The final report begins with the project vision, your original statement of work, the scope statement, the schedule, the work breakdown structure and the project network diagram, any minutes from your meetings throughout the project, your change request log, all of those changes that were approved, declined, or deferred, any variance reports, so time and cost variance, all of your communications, the final cost of the project, the sign-off or scope verification, your post-project financial audits that we just talked about, and any supporting detail. So all of this information goes into your final report. Now, as a project manager, you know that not every project is successful. Of course, not yours. I'm talking about that other guy. But sometimes projects are not successful. So what do we do if a project wasn't successful or a project was canceled? We still need to go through these motions so that we have historical information and we learn from how successful or how much of a failure was this project. So we look at the over or under budget scenario. Was the technology surpassed? So that's why this project became defunct or not needed. A better business solution. Was the need for deliverables eliminated? Did the organization change? Was there a financial concern or constraint that came to light? Or was there poor planning? So all of those are reasons why you may have to declare failure. And you want to document that, and we have to live up to it. That happens. If a project was successful, and even if it's deemed not, you want to have some type of a closure with your team and thank your team and have some type of a celebration. Typically, if the project's successful, it's a much easier to have a celebration. And then you want to talk about how that team members are released back into the organization or to other projects and any resources that you have. And then it's always good, in my opinion, to have a one-on-one talk with each team member about their performance in the project and a review of how they did. Your organization may or may not allow that idea of a review, but it's a good idea to talk to your team members individually and thank them for their contributions and to recognize the work that they did for this project and as you go into future projects. All right, great job. Appreciate your time and attention. I'll see you in future videos. Keep moving forward.